Man, I'm going to miss this guy. Elliotte Friedman and the 32 Thoughts podcast. This is absolutely one of the best sources of information and rumor talk that we get as hockey fans throughout the course of a year. However, as we had discussed in the prior Red Wings video, talking about Steve Yzerman and Elliotte Friedman's commentary on the Red Wings, this previous 32 Thoughts episode that was just released, it's the final one of the year. And we don't really know when 32 Thoughts is going to return, so for now, as we bleed into the 2025 summer, we will take all of this information and just go through it. This could honestly be enough to keep us busy for the next few weeks, to be honest, just considering the fact that the podcast episode itself is 3 hours long. But, as we had talked about with Detroit, there are a bunch of Vancouver Canucks related things to talk about from today's 32 Thoughts. And even though these are all relevant things that I think we can discuss as Vancouver Canucks fans, there is one very particular name that I do think we need to highlight at this point of the year. It was talked about by Friedman. It was talked about by Patrick Alvine of all people. Let's talk about Elias Pettersson. Big shout out over to Canucks News Summaries, who is wrapping up. I believe this is their first season of summarizing Vancouver Canucks related audio hits, but they have been such a tremendous resource throughout the course of the 24-25 campaign. They say this: the podcast is over 3 hours long, and it's a Sunday. Here's the section on the Canucks, and I will have a summary for the rest of the podcast at a later point in time. Again, what an absolute legend Canucks News Summaries is. Just a total G. Friedman on 32 Thoughts talks about Besser, Dvorak, Suter, depth options, but then at the bottom, he goes out there and says this: when it comes to Elias Pettersson, Jim Rutherford was the guy who was fully confident in signing Petey long term. You know, for all the talk about how Rutherford is old and he's a dinosaur and this and that and they run the team like an old-fashioned styled team, I do kind of respect the dedication to the bit here. I do respect that Jim Rutherford goes out there and says, yeah, this Elias Pettersson is our guy. We are going to be confident in signing him. We are not going to want to trade him, even though there were conversations about Petey potentially getting traded during the whole Miller-Petey saga. Ultimately, the Vancouver Canucks went with not just their gut, but with Quinn Hughes' gut as well, and packaged Miller off to the New York Rangers. Furthermore, to Elliotte Friedman and what he had said about Petey in 32 Thoughts, we had ourselves a podcast run by Landon Ferraro and John Shannon, the 100 Canucks podcast, which is a brand new show which you can tune into on YouTube, 100% Canucks with Ferraro and Shannon. They have 3 episodes so far. They have their solo introductory episode. They have Adam Foote on their second episode, and then earlier this morning they posted their Patrick Alvine interview. So obviously, Landon Ferraro, Canucks affiliated Sportsnet 650 guy. You have John Shannon, who has done Sportsnet work in the past. Do they have any bios or anything? No, it doesn't look like it. If we go over to the video itself, is there a description? Here we go. Patrick Alvine joins John Shannon and Landon Ferraro to discuss the Vancouver Canucks amid a busy offseason. 40-minute video, awesome interview here, but what I wanted to do was talk about the commentary that Patrick Alvine made on one Elias Pettersson. You saw the tweet here by Adam Kierszenblat. GM Patrick Alvine says about Elias Pettersson, there are very few players in the league that are capable of doing what Petey can do. If we get Petey back to the level of what he's capable of doing, I think that he will drag the rest of the group with him there. And this faith, not just from Jim Rutherford, but also from Patrick Alvine, is killer. This is exactly what we need to see out of management and out of the Canucks staff. If we head back over onto the R Canucks subreddit, we'll read this comment made by No Pomegranate 1678. The quote is over here too. There are very few players in the league who are capable of doing what Petey can do. From 2019 to 2025, I believe he's top 6 in points, Alvine said. When he showed up there with no hesitation, meeting Foote and Demko at the, a golf meeting in Michigan? Something like that? I'm not sure if I'm getting the details 100% correctly. They met up somewhere. It was talked about on 650. That encouraged the rest of the group as well. Alvine says here, if we get Petey back to the level he's capable of doing, I think that'll drag the group there too. Most positive I've heard Alvine speak about Petey. Blar W went out there and replied saying this: I'm glad that Alvine is framing it as Petey getting back to his old levels instead of what Tocchet was saying even after he left for Philly. That's what I meant, reprogram. Pettersson's got to invent his game a little bit differently. I know he had 100 points a few years ago, and everyone said, well, how do you change a 100-point guy? Well, you got to evolve. I don't care who you are. Then you had yourselves the comments that Rick Tocchet made after he was hired by Philadelphia, speaking out about Elias Pettersson. He is going to have a bounce-back year. He's a great kid. He's got to get his confidence back, but he's also got to inspire confidence for his teammates. He's got to get his teammates to have confidence in him again. I made a comment about a month or two about reprogramming, and people freaked out. Petey likes to come back and play that kind of slower game, etc., etc. It's so interesting how Rick Tocchet has these very set-in-stone opinions about Elias Pettersson as a hockey player. Whereas now, we're looking at Patrick Alvine's commentary, and it's like, yeah, no, he's just got to get back to it. He's still good. He's a top 6 guy in points in the span of 6 years. And this is where we start to see a little bit of a division between what the coaching staff thought about Pettersson and what maybe the staff in the management side thought about him too. Can we just get back to him playing his old style first? Would anybody in the market be disappointed to have the old Elias Pettersson back? It's not even like his style was slowly figured out over time. He was averaging a 105-point pace across 174 games until his tendinitis hit, at which point he very suddenly plummeted to a 62-point pace. Was the reason for such a precipitous drop because the game became, in Tocchet's words, a lot evolved randomly in February 2024? Or was it the timing of something a lot more common sense? Big shout out over to Claude Chabot for the subscription here. I really appreciate that. This was such a weird take by Tocchet. Not only was he a 100-point player, but he was getting Selke votes. Maybe Tocchet was trying to galaxy brain Pettersson into leveling up into Sid 2.0, or maybe he just misread what the player needed to succeed. Whatever it was, it didn't work. Right, exactly as you say. Maybe Tocchet thought he had a 4D chess plan with Elias Pettersson, but once he saw how horribly his plan was going, you'd think he'd step back and realize he had lost the thread. Instead, his advice to Foote was to micromanage the crap out of Petey. Have an itinerary for the day. When Petey walks in the door and we have our hands on him, give him a plan. This guy's going to work for you for 15 minutes on the power play. Then this is going to happen, and so on. This is a guy who had spent 5 seasons being an elite perennial all-star whose work ethic was extolled every year until his injury. You're telling me the best way to get him to become a difference maker again is to treat him like he was actually Jake Virtanen all along? And you're telling me that after 1.5 seasons of that plan not working, the best way to move forward is to double down? How is he seriously out there talking like any of that makes a lick of sense? This is why I'm so pessimistic about Rick Tocchet in Philadelphia. Like, Trevor Zegras, Matvei Mishkov, once these guys go through a slump, I wonder what Tocchet's going to do with them. I wonder how he's going to deploy these guys. But anyways, it is so refreshing to see not only Alvine, but also JR have these really big beliefs of faith in Elias Pettersson. It seems so different from what we had seen prior. And all we gotta do as fans is just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Remember what we had said about Adam Foote the other day, too? Remember we made a video before the draft about how Adam Foote also believes in Pettersson, too? All of this is really setting the tone for next season, and I'm very, very excited to see where it goes. With that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Elias Pettersson and how Canucks management, super high on this guy. Doesn't seem like that was the case a few months ago, but it seems like it's the case now. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.